All right, good morning, everyone. Making sure that I don't have anyone hanging out in the waiting room, and I don't, and we are recording. So thank you so much for joining us. I'm really excited to see people from all over the state, from different CVBs and tourism partners. We're really excited to have Matt Jenne here with us today. And just as a quick intro, Matt, if you can wave to us so we know who you are, and I will pin your video here in just a minute once we get you going so that so you're not just a small square in the grid. So Matt has successfully owned and operated restaurants in Columbia, Missouri for more than 20 years. Matt and his restaurant partners worked their way through school at Mizzou, cooking, waiting tables, and bartending. And after graduation, they combined their talents and experiences to launch Addison's restaurant, going on to open a sister restaurant, Sophia's, a few years later, and recently a second Addison's location. Matt has been involved in community leadership positions, and he currently serves as chair of Regional Economic Development Incorporated, a public-private partnership, and sits on the Airport Advisory Board. So Matt's restaurant is also home of my very favorite nachos in all of Columbia. So that's important too. So as Matt goes through his presentation, please feel free to put any questions you have in the chat, and I'll make sure that they get asked at the right time. And of course, if you can, please make sure to mute yourself. But I, of course, will also be ruthlessly going through and muting people as well. So I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Matt. Thank you so much for being here, and we'll let you kick it off.
Awesome. Thank you, Megan, and thank you, Chuck. I really appreciate you guys having me on. I think, what you guys do every day is super important to my industry in bringing people in the door and, bringing people around the state to different parts of the state to be able to enjoy, restaurants that they wouldn't normally enjoy. So really what you guys all do is super important to my industry. So I'm excited to be here to talk to you guys today. I'm going to just start off a little bit about, Megan did a great job describing my history in the restaurants. I just want to talk a little bit about our philosophy on how we operate and give you guys a kind of a baseline of what our philosophies are. So basically you could describe our philosophy as a three-pillared system. And I think all restaurants kind of exist with these three pillars in them. They are service, food, and atmosphere. And now a good restaurant's going to have all three. They're going to execute all three. There are some restaurants that have two of the three, some have one of the three. Generally, if you don't have two of the three, you're probably not going to be as successful as you would be otherwise. So we really focus on all three aspects. We want our restaurants to look nice, we want the food to be great, and we want our service to be top-notch. I think once you hit those three things, then you're going to be successful in the restaurant. So we've been doing this for 21 years now. Our first restaurant, Addison's, we opened, I was 27 years old when we opened it, just fresh out of college. And I think in my mind, I still feel like I'm that fresh out of college kid, but my body is telling me differently. That was more than 20 years ago now, so I've definitely aged. And looking at my picture right now, I can tell I'm not that same fresh face that I was. But, that being said, you do have to have an energy to be in this industry for a long time. And can't do it unless you feel young at heart. That's just how it is. And I'm sure it's the same with you guys, that you are high energy and you have to have the energy to bring those people to your communities and show them the great time that that your communities can offer. So fast forwarding to about March 14th of 2020, things were going great. Our business was doing well at all three restaurants. We were having a great year. 2020 was actually turning out to be a pretty good year for the restaurant industry. And then, we had everybody kind of knew about the coronavirus, knew that it existed, knew that it was something that China was dealing with, but it didn't seem to be something that was going to hit our shores as quickly or as massively as it did. And then when the NBA players started to come down with it, and I believe Tom Hanks probably for me was the one that really made me go, this is something that we might need to take seriously. And so that was over the weekend. That was Friday and Saturday. By Sunday, we were not as busy. By Monday, we were basically empty. And by Tuesday, which would be the 15th of March, if I remember, we were already doing takeout and delivery only. We made the early choice to get ahead of the curve a little bit and do takeout and delivery so that we could start to figure out some of the intricacies of a business model that we weren't really that familiar with. You know, I would say 90 to 95% of our business was walk-in traffic. We did a little bit of takeout. We did not do delivery at all. So we really had to kind of reinvent ourselves on the fly within a couple days. And I think there was a lot of concern and fear and nervousness for everybody at that time that wanted to sit at home and try and figure out what was going on. And excuse me for a second, sorry. My son is trying to FaceTime me. Anyway, we were as nervous as anybody, and we didn't know. And our business went from going full speed to really nothing. I mean, we probably went from 100% to 10% of our usual business in a shocking way. I know you guys have similar stories all across the state. It was pretty devastating. But, you know, you just have to figure it out. You have to move on. You have to figure out, well, what can we do today to make today the most important day? We leaned pretty heavily into carryout, and we tried to bring on delivery as quick as possible. We were originally going to do a delivery service, you know, bring in our own staff, try and have insurance and have cars, you know, have our own staff use their own cars. We realized pretty quickly that logistically that was very difficult for us to do. We did not have the infrastructure to make that happen in a way that we felt comfortable with. There's a lot of logistics to trying to do your own delivery that if you don't think about it too deeply, it seems like it's fairly straightforward, but you know, you have to have delivery areas. You have to have maps that, you know, if a customer calls in and they're outside of that delivery area, you have to know that they're outside of that delivery area, or else you're, you know, driving 45 minutes across the city to deliver, you know, a couple of hamburgers that probably aren't profitable at that point. So we made the decision to go with delivery services. Not something that we're super keen on, but in order to reach the most people, that seemed to be the easiest way to do it and the quickest way to do it. For just FYI for everybody, delivery services for the restaurant business, especially right now, are not very profitable. Most delivery services charge between 22 and 30% of your menu price. And so if you lop 30% off your menu price, at this level, it works if you're full and on a wait and busy, but at this level, you're not making any money. So to us, it's just as much outreach for our customers to have multiple ways of being able to take care of them. It represents right now probably 20% of our carryout delivery business. Delivery represents about 20% of it. So it is a part of our business, but it's not, luckily, actually, it's not a major part because we would struggle to make money. With our staff, you know, and it was a difficult decision. We had to lay off quite a few of our staff. And it was very hard to do that. But, you know, what we decided was that we needed to conserve as much cash as possible until we knew if there was going to be some help from the government, or we could get some loans from banks to be able to weather the storm. So we immediately put all of our staff into the layoff portal that the state government had, and then allowed our staff to make the choice. We told them, hey, and a lot of our front of the house staff, our servers, a lot of them are students here at the University of Missouri. So for them, it was a pretty easy choice. Most of them either lived with their parents or were going back to live with their parents. A lot of them were, you know, coming from St. Louis or Kansas City. Chicago is a big city that we have a lot of employees that work here. And so for them, going home was the best bet. So that wasn't a difficult choice. Our kitchen staff is a little more difficult, but quite a few of them were able to find other jobs temporarily. So we were able to ease that burden on them. And also, you know, the government offered fairly substantial unemployment insurance that really made it an easy choice for some of them to take unemployment, which eased our burden, quite frankly. It made it a lot easier for us to make these choices that were very difficult. We have been doing carryout and delivery since mid-March, and it's steadily grown. I think probably early on we were at maybe 10 to 20% of our previous year's sales. And then every day, every week, it's gone up from there to the point where at our south location, which is probably the most located within our population base, our downtown location is mostly students and where our businesses are located. So, and then the entertainment district is down there. Probably a lot of tourism. That's where we would see a lot of our people that were coming into Columbia to visit. That location we actually closed for a couple weeks because it didn't get better. It just was just kind of a slow trickle. Our south location, we were doing well enough that we actually were struggling a little bit at how busy we were. And it's just a different kind of busy. We seem to have reinvented our business model 3 times over the last 6 weeks. And it's one of those things where you're just going on the fly, trying to figure it out. A couple of things that I wanted to focus on, you know, we don't have atmosphere, right? So people that are coming in just for takeout and delivery, we want to make it as easy as possible, but they're not going to be able to enjoy the energy that a nice restaurant brings. So what we focused on was food quality and our service. We wanted to make sure that the food was going out as fresh as possible and that it was able to stay as fresh as long as possible. So, you know, we experimented quite a bit early on about wrapping our sandwiches to keep them fresh and warm if they're warm. You know, our packaging was important to us. We use all recyclable packaging. So we wanted to kind of send the signal that, you know, we care about the environment and we want to recycle. We pared down our menus so that we were only really focusing on the items that we felt like were going to have the longest life, so that if a customer orders the food, comes and picks it up and brings it home, that when they open that box, it's as fresh as possible. And then also on the service side, we wanted to make sure that our staff was, you know, maintaining a high level of excellence, doing curbside, making sure that we made it as easy as possible for our customers. And really what was important to my partners and I is that we acknowledge that our customers were in a large part doing this to keep us afloat. They could just go to the grocery store, you know, they could just order food or, you know, get food at the grocery store, take it home and cook it. Now, I think a lot of people probably did cook a little bit more early on, but then as you get back into your patterns, maybe you're not somebody that likes to cook, so getting takeout food is a little bit easier. But quite frankly, our customers are loyal to us more than just because they're hungry. They're loyal to us because they want to see us succeed. And so we made it a point to acknowledge that, to make sure that our customers understood that the reason that we are able to do what we're doing is because they're patronizing us at a time when maybe they wouldn't want to, or wouldn't want to as often as they do. And it has been amazing. Our community has stepped up for not just our restaurant, but all restaurants in Columbia have, I think, experienced something very similar, where we are here today by dint of what our community has done for us. So it's been really good here at our South location. We actually probably are at 50 to 60% of our previous business. And if you take into account that we are not able to sell, well, we sell a little bit of growlers of beer, but it's maybe 5% of what we were doing prior. And if you take into account that 20 to 30% of our sales when we were open was our bar and liquor, this is really done fairly well. So we've been really happy with it. The other side of things, this is again, the community stepping up. We've had a lot of community, like businesses that have been as adversely affected as us. Veterans United is the one here in town that specifically has helped us out. Well, they put together a program to feed all of the frontline healthcare workers and bring in restaurants to cater those meals. And so having a partner like that and having businesses step up and say, hey, we still have employees that are working, you know, at our businesses, and we want to feed them because they would usually go out to your restaurant, but we will just cater it in. That's helped us out quite a bit as well. It's definitely made it a lot easier to operate. That being said, you know, I don't want to make it too rosy because it's not. Restaurants are struggling, and we're not immune to that here at Addison's and Sophia's. We are definitely on, the ledger is not a profitable ledger right now. And so that takes the next thing that I want to talk about, which is how the government has helped us. So the main source that we've received help from the government has been the CARES Act. There's two components to that are available for restaurants. And the one is, I think people are a little more familiar with, is the PPP, the Payroll Protection Program, which are direct loans that you can apply for through your bank that are based on your salaried employees, based on 2.5 months of your salary from the previous year. And if you use that money to pay your employees and some expenses, you can have it forgiven. And then there's another program that CARES Act offers, which from a restaurant perspective, if you have under 100 employees, is maybe as lucrative or maybe even better because of the fact that we're operating at such a reduced amount of our previous sales. And that's the Employee Retention Tax Credit. And what that does is allows you to, or as long as you show a loss in this quarter of 50% or more, and then in the next 2 quarters of 80% or more, I'm sorry, under 80% of your previous sales, that you can then take a tax credit for all your payroll taxes for up to $5,000 per employee, or 50% if it's under $10,000. And if in the restaurant business, we have a lot of part-time employees, and so that it potentially could be a better program. So if you're talking to your restaurant partners, they still have an opportunity to use that program. It is available only if you don't take the PPP money, but I think they just extended it today. You can use the safe harbor statute and give back the PPP money and use the tax credit instead. And I think you have up until the 17th of May, so a few more days. So if you're talking to your restaurant partners, that's something that it didn't get as much publicity, but for restaurants, definitely is potentially the better route to go. And the reason why is the forgiveness for PPP is not really designed for a business that is operating at less than capacity and has quite a few part-time employees. So one of the issues that we're having struggling with is, as I said before, a lot of our part-time employees have moved back to wherever they're from, college students, you know, and when Mizzou went to online, they decided it's just better for me to be home with my family. This is a difficult time. This is where I want to be. And so what we're struggling with right now is trying to either get people back so that we can get back up to a higher percentage of our employment, or now hiring new people to try and replace some of the people that we need as we're slowly getting back into normal operation. So 2 weeks ago in Columbia, and I think across the state, restaurants were allowed to reopen for in-seat dining. And that, again, is a reinvention of our business model. So we've really attempted to try and balance the carryout business, which is still robust. More than 50% of what we're doing to this day is our carryout business. I think people are still reluctant to leave the house. I think people are still concerned about the potential that this virus has. And we see it here in Columbia, at least, in the people that are walking in the door. We are 25% right now, 25% of our fire code capacity, which here at Addison South is about 70 people, which is about 15 or 16 tables that we're allowed to seat, which is about 50% of the number of tables that we had prior to. We just yanked those tables out, so we just have tables that are spaced out. And maybe you can see that I have tables that are all 6 feet apart here in the restaurant. We're not allowed to seat anybody at the bar, and we are having our employees wear masks. We do not have them wear gloves, however, what we focus on is making sure they wash their hands as often as possible and sanitize their hands. And so some of the things, here's our philosophy. So when we decided we were going to reopen, and even during when we were doing curbside, the one thing that my partners and I really wanted to focus on is if we were keeping our employees safe and healthy, using the techniques that we thought were appropriate, then we were probably protecting our customers as well. So if our employees are wearing masks, they're washing their hands frequently, we're trying to contact our customers as little as possible, then at the end of the day, our employees will probably remain healthy, and by that, our customers will as well. We will not be a vector to spread this. And that's really been our philosophy from day one. So when we decided to reopen, what we really focused on was how can we keep our staff safe and healthy? And that really was where we developed the procedures that we thought would work well. You know, we spread our tables out. We are making our staff wear masks, and we also are asking that they wash their hands as frequent as possible. Some of the things that we think are working really well is having our staff interact with the customers only one-on-one. So if one of our servers is serving a table, that server is going to take out the food by themselves. That server is going to clear those plates by themselves. They're really going to be the only person that contacts the customers. We are using paper menus that are disposable so that whenever the customers are done with that menu, we take them and throw them away. We're encouraging our customers to sanitize their hands when they come in the restaurant. We have sanitizing stations set up so that it makes it easy for them. And we're also, with our employees, you know, we're monitoring their health as best we can. We haven't gone to the point where we're making them do tests, you know, temperature tests or anything like that. But we're very, very relaxed on if somebody calls us and says they're not feeling well, no questions asked. You get to stay home that day, and we'll monitor them from there. We have had a few of our staff who have had scares. We've not had any of our staff have the virus. We've not had any of our staff even have roommates or family members that have had the virus. But we have had some that have been sick or been exposed, and we've made those employees quarantine themselves for 2 weeks. And we're pretty strict about that. And I think Columbia has been very lucky. We haven't had a lot of cases in Columbia, Missouri. And in my opinion, that's a testament to how great our community is and how amazing we have been with social distancing and trying to keep that curve as low as possible. And even though Columbia probably hasn't had a lot of cases, what I think we've done, what we've accomplished here in Columbia, is that we've allowed the resources that other, like St. Louis or Kansas City, we've allowed those resources to stay there where those harder hit areas need it. And if that's all we've done, then we've done our job and we've done it well, I think. So that's today. I've taken you up to today. I expect that going forward, as long as we turn the dial, the dial of how many people we allow in the restaurant is in an appropriate way, and allow the amount of people we have now and wait a little bit, see what the numbers do. And so far in Columbia, the numbers are staying fairly steady. I think then we see what the next step is and allow a few more people to come into the restaurant. And I think we'll see our customers feel more and more comfortable with wanting to go out and experience the restaurants. I think we'll see more and more. These first customers that we've had are the pioneers. They're the ones that probably aren't taking the virus maybe as they see it as something that maybe is only affecting older people. But there are plenty of potential customers out there that are worried for their own health. And so that next group of customers, we have to treat differently. We have to make sure that we're paying as much attention as possible to our health standards and our sanitation. The good news with the restaurant business is that's always been the case. Sanitation has always been an integral part of how we operate. We get inspected by the health department. Our employees have to go through training to make sure that they're doing things as sanitary as possible. And so here we really haven't had to change those procedures all that much because they existed and they were something that we focused on. But we just need to make sure that our customers see that and are aware of it. I think over the next several months, it's going to be a slow climb. We're going to slowly build our way back up to something more normal. And I'm confident that we will. The great news about this pandemic, it's not an earthquake. It's not a tornado. It's not something that destroyed our buildings or our infrastructure. It's a horrible, horrible disease, and I'm not minimizing it at all. But once we are able to figure out how to manage it and mitigate it and eventually have a vaccine for it, we can get back to normal. There's nothing stopping us. There's no infrastructure reason. My building exists. My staff is eager and ready to work. And once we start to figure out how to mitigate this, I think we're going to get back to normal pretty quickly. And I think going forward, our business is going to be okay. And I think the tourism industry is going to come back because people are ready to leave their houses for sure. And so I think you guys are going to get busier and busier as well. And that's basically it for me. So if I have any questions or anybody has anything they want to ask, I feel like I've been babbling on quite a bit.
Thanks, Matt. We did have a question come in. Have you had any problems with your POS or order systems going down? So kind of a question there for restaurant operations.
Yeah, no, we have two different systems. So here at Addison South, we have Toast, which is a newer system, and it's online based. And it's been actually a great partner for us. because it's a newer system, we were able to bring in online ordering and have gift cards available online. So, you know, so much of what has happened in the world has moved online, Zoom meetings being one of the things that it is. It's allowed us to market ourselves more effectively. At our other restaurants, we're still using a legacy system, Micros POS, which doesn't have those same facilities. And they've both been great. We haven't had a problem with either of them. We pay Toast, I think it's about $300 a month, somewhere around that. And then the key with Toast is they do the credit card processing. And it's been a very competitive rate. That was the area where we were a little concerned because we were worried that we were going to get on with them, get in their ecosystem, and then they'd start to raise the rates. But they've been great. They've been a really good partner, and I think you see a lot of restaurants turning to Toast because of the functionality and the fact that they're so robust online that makes that portion of the business easy to do. It really is all integrated into one system. We've been very happy with it. I just saw another question about outdoor dining. Yep, we do have a patio, and the weather was cooperating with us really well when we were only doing carryout. And then the last 2 weeks has been kind of cold and rainy, so we haven't had a lot of people sit outside yet. But what we've learned here in Columbia is that other than being 6 feet apart, there's no restrictions on outdoor dining. So, you know, if we can spread our tables out as much as possible, we can bring in more people.
I know we're finally going to move into some patio dining weather.
Exactly.
Coming
yeah,
in no place I'd rather be.
Yeah, we're very excited about that. We have outdoor dining here at South, and then at our Sophia's restaurant. Unfortunately, we don't have it downtown, which we would love to have. It would be a great thing to have right now. So I saw a question about Carryout Liquor. We are doing bottled wine and growlers. We've had a decent success with growlers. Bottled wine less so, and we've fluctuated our price point to try and see where a good price point would be. We've done specials where with our wine, our bottled wine, we've done like Wine Wednesdays where we've done 50% off our in-restaurant price. That's done pretty good. You know, I think the key really is that you get your servers or whoever's taking the order over the phone to upsell. Where if you make it a happy hour, you say, "Oh, it's happy hour tonight. We're offering our growlers for a you know, it's the same price no matter what. It's no different in price, but if you sell it in a certain way, it seems like like you're giving them a good deal, and we are giving a good deal. But where we say usually a growler is 4 pints, and we'll sell it to you for 3 pints, and you get the 4th for free. We've had some success there. And that seems to be the area where we've had the most success is our draft beer, selling them in growlers.
Yeah, we do have some restaurant partners who are doing to-go drinks. So yeah, every partner is definitely handling that differently based on what they think works best, I think, for their business model.
Well, the difficulty is, you know, the mixed drinks. That's an area that the state has tried to reduce some of those restrictions, but they still seem to be fairly restrictive. And I can appreciate where the state is coming from. They don't want to have just open containers everywhere. But I think they only will allow mixed drinks to walk out the door if they have tamper-proof tape on them. And that's not something that we've even messed with. It just seemed like that was more trouble than it was worth. And we're not going to sell a lot. Mixed drinks are not going to sell that much. At least here, that's just not what we're known for.
So thinking about kind of back when this all started, you know, you all took pretty proactive steps and have been very agile as a business. So how do you kind of, you know, do you credit that for kind of helping you keep going during all of this? You all really kind of jumped right in. Like you said, there've been a lot of iterations of what you've done.
Yeah, I think it's a testament to my partners. The three of us together make a great team. We all have our strengths. We actually all have our weaknesses too, but our strengths really complement each other. And so being able to lean on each other has really made it much less stressful. It's still stressful, but it's less stressful because I know if I'm not having the best day, that my partners will be able to pick me up, and the same goes for them. And that's really helped. Excuse me.
I know, let's see, we did have one. Are you anticipating anything changing on June 1st for you all as far as a phase switchover?
Yeah, we hope so. I mean, I think if the numbers stay low here in Columbia, I think it's reasonable to expect that they'll increase the number of people we're allowed to have in our restaurant. Now, as I said before, that's actually been fairly organically happening anyway. When we first opened, my worry was, what we were focused on was, well, how do we manage a wait, and how do we manage people coming in? We can't have them congregating at the door. Well, that's never happened. In the 2 weeks that we were, week and a half that we've been open, and even Mother's Day we thought was going to be pretty busy. And it was busy for carryout. It was not busy in the restaurant.
There are a lot of folks here who, like me, work for a convention and visitors bureau. And so what, from a restaurant perspective, can we do to keep helping you or to help you moving forward as we move into the future?
Excuse me. Well, I think giving us the resources that you guys have or have available to you is the way to go. And I think you guys are doing that, at least here in Columbia. Pardon me. I think information is what's important right now. I think a lot of restaurant owners, and we are seeking information from as many people as we can to try and figure out some of these government programs. And so being a resource for those and for that is a big help. Sharing best practices and having restaurants share what works best for them, and then disseminating that information would definitely help. And I think working on the things that you're best at as well. We're trying to figure out ways to restart the tourism industry and bringing people back out when it's appropriate, and sharing that with us, with the restaurant industry, so that we can start to think about those things as well. I think that would definitely help.
Man, I had a quick question. As things basically move forward, you kind of see things moving back to normal. Is there anything out there that you basically see changing or being a permanent change as things move forward?
I think that the carry-out and to-go business is going to be a bigger part of our business moving forward, and that's something that we really have to focus on, because it causes our kitchen to have to work in two different worlds. And I'm glad it's happened this way, as we've opened up our dining rooms, and it's been a fairly slow increase. We've had to really focus on the procedures to make sure that we're making the food in the right way, that it's going into a box instead of on a plate. And it can really make our kitchen have struggle if it comes too fast. The thing with carryout is that there's no governor on it. With a restaurant, you fill out, you go on a wait, you kind of maximize the amount of orders that go back to the kitchen. Well, if you don't have a way to govern the amount of to-go orders that come in, you could get 15, 20 orders in a 5-minute period, and all of a sudden your kitchen is really, really struggling to keep up with that. And so I see that continuing. I see us having a strong carry-out and to-go business delivery as well. And I see that continuing for the foreseeable future. I don't think as we return back to normal, I think more and more people are comfortable with that maybe didn't really consider that a part of their options as far as how they were going to get food that day. And I think more and more people are going to be comfortable with it. Other than that, I think trend-wise, restaurants probably are, and this was a trend anyway, are trending more towards fast casual. You know, making it more convenient for people to order. So, you know, even having online ordering so that they can order, and when they get to the restaurant, the food is ready. That's a potential, that's possibility going into the future, I think. You know, I think it's probably going to go from being more fast casual and then high end, and there won't be a lot in the middle. People that want to have a dining experience will expect to have, be delighted by the food and have something that's more novel, where people that are more, you know, want just something that they're comfortable with and familiar with, they'll expect that quality to be there, but what they'll want is the convenience of being able to come in and eat without having it to be a sit-down event.
See a couple questions about groups. I know at 2 of your places you have kind of some separate space where smaller groups can be housed. So how do you see that coming back and or changing as we move forward?
Well, right now, the city has limited the number of people we're allowed to have to sit together at 10. And we have not had very many opportunities to even experience that. We've had some families come in, and they're, you know, depending on the size, 6 people, 7 people, something like that. We have not seen, I think we may have had a bachelorette party that was 10 people, but we have not seen a lot of large groups. I think it's going to come back. I think this is just one of those things where people just have to feel comfortable being in large groups. I don't know if you guys have experienced this, but if I watch a movie or a TV show and you see a bunch of people in a large group, you almost go, "Whoa, what? That's not right." and I think people have that mindset right now that large groups are not something we want to be involved in. But I think that'll fade. I think it'll fade with time, and as this pandemic recedes, and as we mitigate it, and as we're able to control it and contain it, I think you will see that come back more and more. The good news about our 2 restaurants that do have those spaces is that we're able to then add more tables. So we're able to potentially have more customers in the restaurant and use those spaces as regular dining. So it's helped in that way.
Great. I do see a question. Are you employing a person to help remind guests and staff about social distancing?
It's the management. So the owners and our managers are the ones that are doing that. And it is a constant. You have to constantly remind people and our staff. We don't remind our customers. You know, obviously it's a restaurant, so we would not mandate our customers to have to wear masks, because you can't wear a mask and eat. So there's that. But it's just really, again, my focus is on my staff. If I can keep my staff healthy, I think I keep my customers healthy as well. As far as signage goes, social distancing, we do not. We have the way our restaurant's set up is we just pull those tables away so that it is naturally occurring. We try and make our staff, although you can see them behind, they're all congregating. We try and make them not congregate, but it's really difficult. You know, a lot of them are college students, so they like to operate the way they like to operate.
Great. Well, are there any other questions that come in over chat, or you can raise your hand and I'll unmute you?
Megan, I was going to just ask one final question. Matt, I mean, are you seeing any kind of fallout in Columbia from restaurants that aren't going to make it? And any idea as to how that may be across the state? I know you would know Columbia primarily, but has it been truly devastating on your industry partners?
Yeah, it has. I mean, it's been difficult. You know, and the uncertainty is probably the thing that we're most difficult. You know, it's hard to plan when you don't know what a month from now is going to look like, what 6 months from now is going to look like. I haven't heard of too many restaurants that have closed permanently, which is, I think, a really good sign. Again, I think that's a testament to our community, and I think in every community across the state and across the country. The restaurant industry has been a focus of this pandemic as an industry that has gotten hurt. And the tourism industry, certainly, I think you guys are a focus as well. But we've had a lot of people step up and help. So it's definitely made it so that the fewer restaurants that would have failed have.
All right. Well, Matt, thank you so much for donating your time to us to let you,
happy to help.
Yeah, to share what's been going on with you. And it's so great to hear that you've had people back in to dine with you. And we wish you the very best, of course, from us and from everyone else on the call. And Chuck, I'll turn it back over to you for anything else you want to share.
Yeah, no, thank you, Matt, so much. And Megan, thank you for facilitating. We greatly appreciate it.